Mikhail Tal, the freaking magician for Riga. Chain chess forever. By treating the board as a psychological battlefield rather than a math problem. Below are 6 critical principles. Translated for a modern day practical application. Tal's principle was always complexity over logic. Obviously, a very simple quote. It says, as I quoted before, you must take your diagonal opponent for 2 bars, 2 plus 2 equals 5. The pass out is only wide enough for 1. And only move, force game, a backwards method in person. Force the opponent to a position so complex that even the engine says they are fine. But the human brain cannot find the only move. Leading to this, from this, to this sequence of just only moves. Keep showing only moves, only moves, only moves, only moves, only moves. Now, let's go to the second part. Material versus time. Can they take one piece at a time? Material is a static resource. Initiative is dynamic force. Sacrifice buys you the time to deliver a final throw. Psychological pressure. There are 2 types of sacrifice, correct ones and mine. A sacrifice doesn't have to be perfect at that 50, but it has to be unsolvable for the person sitting across to you. Meaning by this, the Mikhail Tal sacrifice is so special and the add-on to the foundation that he made of attacking chess. I like to say this as the win-win theory. This game will explain that a win-win theory evolves. Tails chaos into binary clinical of failure. I'm not just creating a farce, I'm creating a trap with 2 exits, leading to a cliff. This is the win-win logic flow. The scenario A, as we're going to go and see, takes, so either my opponent can accept the freaking sacrifice, accept the sacrifice on freaking h7, and the opponent takes the material on the right hour. A material advantage, but the king safety is put down. Evaluation equals plus mate, or completely winning into a completely liquidating endgame. So, for example, if my opponent accepted my sacrifice, it would be check, grab the rook, we check. Let's say if the king top into mine, I get back and I just win a rook up. So even though and basically threaten just an absolutely unstoppable attack. So look at the square and simply liquidating into a winning endgame. And this is the point of stop. And basically having a 3.0 advantage endgame with a very good sound pawn structure, and the king's safety is completely shattered with 2 rooks that are going to stack upon the f-file. That's what happens if the sacrifice is accepted. Now, let's go into what happens as it is declined. Scenario B. The opponent refuses my sacrifice. My piece becomes a permanent splinter in their position. Evaluation 3.5 estimate, and that person shows positional dominance as I put my queen on h4, just making a bunch of different tactics, discover attacks, cutting on squares, sacrificing pieces, adding this rook into the game, potentially getting this knight here. Just too many attacking lines, too much pressure, surmounting at once. Now, as you saw, I took on h7, which is an f6 defender. My intent behind that was to shatter the anchor holding my opponent's position. As you saw, move 16, bishop take h7 as a Greek sacrifice to force the opponent into the bifurcation or loss. Now, the attacker's list is this: material deficits. If the follow-up isn't precise, the win-win logic becomes completely a lose-lose due to material loss. Now, as we're going to go to this game, as I read over my script, Don't hope. Calculated. C4. E6. Knight C3. D5. D4. C6. Pawn to E3. Knight to F6. Bishop D3. Knight to BD7. Knight to GD2. Freaking Bishop D6. Castles. Castles. Don't hope. Calculate. We don't call for fire. Don't call fire until you have eyes on a target. So don't sacrifice your vibes. You must see a branch in the road clearly and maintain the initiative. As I continue, pawn to B3, rook E8, C5 inaccuracy, because technically it just only forces the bishop away and takes space, but it doesn't really make progress immediately. It would have been more potent to either. It would have been more potent to go here and attack this, what's it called, the freaking H7 pawn, or to doggone freaking, or to just simply push up this F pawn at the correct time. Only logical move I was thinking was this or this, which I picked that, which was inaccurate. Alright, and as you're going to see, put rook E8, C5, freaking, we'll call Bishop D2, just slow, still making positional improving moves for the long term, instead of being more aggressive and putting F4. Freaking, Queen to C7, freaking F4, stopping this threatened checkmate in 1, by interference, by the defending of the knight, and gaining space on this pawn. If this knight would have came into this outpost, we'll win a trade. I believe so, but I digress. And then rook to E7, just a completely wasteful move. Rook B1, getting long-term pressure on the B file and the bishop on B1. Friggin' knight E8, trying to reroute the knight. Rook to F3, just a simple rook lift. Friggin' pawn to E5, takes. Pawn pushes. Queen E1. Freaking F takes E5. Now bishop H7. Oh my goodness, my notes just fucking go off and off and off. Holy Lord. Now, as you saw, we're gonna say maintain the initiative and the win-win verification before you sacrifice. Ask, if they don't take this, am I still winning? If the answer is no, it's a gambit, not a win-win. You must sacrifice to understand that you can get into a winning endgame or completely destroy your opponent and checkmate them. The point is this, that if you're going to go for a sacrifice, do have both lines of pruning and branches of calculation that show that if they decline the sacrifice, if they accept the sacrifice, it will both be a long-term advantage for you or a complete checkmate win. So as you saw, king to AH was inaccurate, giving me a completely winning position. Now I go queen to h4, defending my bishop, attacking the rook. Knight to dd6, attacking the bishop. Step out, discover check, queen moves out the way. Rook to f1, pawn e4, sacrifice the rook, takes. Freaking knight to g3, bishop g4, allowing the other sacrifice of the rook. Down 10 points of material. I take back the bishop. Rook to freaking g7, knight to h5. Queen h2, step out the way, pawn to f5, bishop, turning on, what's it called, basically forcing a forced mate in 3, or a mate in 1, if they accept the sacrifice. If they do, this happens. And now, if the king declines the sacrifice, takes, step, shakes, check, mate. This is what happens when you put Asian naivety and understanding the importance of a win-win sacrifice. This is what my house started, and I continue to add on to. The phase, as you saw, technical probe, identify a piece or glues the position together. H7 pawn for myself, force the opponent to commit to a defensive structure. And then the sacrifice may be attractive enough to calculate, but terrifying enough to decline. Create a massive calculation and overthinking, and a calculation tax the opponent, clock, and mental energy. ensure both accepting and decline variance lead to a checkmate, a material gain, or a winning endgame. Win-win realization. Now, let's go into the last part. The Bifurcation of Loss. In standard sacrifice, you give up material for a chance of attack. In a win-win sacrifice, you give up material to cure a Bifurcation. A fork in the road where every path leads to strategic failure for your opponent. This is a if-else statement if you look to outcomes for a gain over for your opponent. Now, is the sacrifice seven fast death? Is the sacrifice defined as slow death? Each result to checkmate or completely winning. Now that's how you get 3 inaccuracies, 94% accuracy, 20% pawn loss, and that's how you destroy your opponent in 26 moves, in 31 moves. So, and that's how you destroy your opponent, by understanding that in 27 moves you can win a game by sacrificing over 10 points of material. By sacrificing not just a minor piece, not just one rook. No, let me say the freaking rook. 13 points of material for a guaranteed force mate. 13 points deficit. 13 points of deficit. Hope you guys learned something new. Take care. And Cyberfy out.